Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Black Belt Newscast.
Hey, how you doing
Hello,
this week?
hello. I'm Cindy Fisher. This is Todd Prater, and we are with the Black Belt News Network. And we are in our separate locations today, but obviously covering the Black Belt wherever we are. And
Beauty of it.
today we are going to be talking about some really important things, but specifically the 6-month anniversary of the January 12th tornado that hit Selma and Dallas County and made such a mess that it has changed lives. And we are still cleaning up from it. And we've done some major reporting in this area to go see how things are going 6 months later. And Todd and I are going to share with you some footage and some videos that will demonstrate as how things look then and now. But we're also going to show you some folks that have told us how they're doing. You can find most of this coverage on selmasun.com and blackbeltnewsnetwork.com, where we have a special 6-month later edition that looks at the financing, the rebuilding, and the emotional factor that goes into rebuilding from a giant tornado like ours. So let's get started.
Yes, let's do.
So we as reporters know that when a tornado hits, the biggest thing is going to be getting out there immediately. Obviously, you look down, you say, okay, I got all my arms and all my legs. I'm okay. You know, it's the oxygen mask in the airplane. And then within 15 minutes, I was out reporting, and Todd was out reporting and taking pictures. And I want to start with this video that I got 30 minutes after it hit on January 12th. We're here at Dollar General, which is on Dallas Avenue, and it has been severely damaged by the tornado that came through at 12:30 p.m. It's about 1:30 p.m. right now. And people are just kind of coming out to discover what is wrong and what might have happened while we were all hunkered down. So that was within the hour. And I sound tired, don't I?
Yeah.
I can tell. This was a rough day of seeing this kind of destruction.
Stressed is probably a better word than tired.
Yes. It was like, oh my gosh, how are we going to get through this?
Right.
Yeah, shock. There were a lot of heroic stories we heard as we were digging out. So within 2 hours after the storm, I met Tom Nichols. And I was over at Cross Point Church on Dallas Avenue, which Dallas Avenue got hit really hard. And I was looking at the damage there because I had heard and actually later realized I have pictures of parents picking up their children that were in the daycare that was demolished by the storm, completely destroyed in the storm. And while I was there getting pictures backing up what I had gotten, immediately after, I met Tom Nichols. So let's hear what Tom had to say. This part. So you ran from your car to here.
Right. It was raining so hard, and me and another coworker, we were remodeling a house over here in the next neighborhood. The reason we came, we're so close, and we ran over, and it was just utter chaos. No other way to explain it. It was raining so hard you couldn't see, and then as we made entrance into the building, you could smell the gas and the children just crying, and it was just horrific. I don't know other way to explain it. And we were so concerned about the children, even though they were safe and the storm hadn't hurt them. We were really concerned about their well-being with the gas and a possible fire. So we had multiple things that was going through our mind, and it was kind of a life-changing experience, to say the least. It really is.
I actually have some more video of Tom that's at our YouTube channel, Black Belt News Network YouTube channel, where he is describing the children and has to stop because he starts to cry. It was a really difficult interview.
We also have a story that I did the day that they did the service on the ground, and I talked to a couple of folks there. That's still up on our YouTube channel as well. If you want to go see what happened at Cross Point when they decided they weren't going to let the damage hurt them or bother them. You know,
and they've relocated that daycare to Cornerstone Presbyterian on also on Dallas, well, Lauderdale, Broad Street in that area, because it has not been rebuilt yet. So
not yet.
And that's the next discussion, is the rebuilding factor. You had a story, Todd, last week in Selma Sun's print edition and on blackbeltnewsnetwork.com about businesses relocating or rebuilding. What were they saying?
Well, one of the things that we discovered from Cheryl Smedley and a bunch of other our Chamber of Commerce executive director and folks around town is that a lot of businesses, thankfully, are not leaving or shutting down completely. If their building has been destroyed or too damaged to fix in a timely fashion, they're moving to other locations, but they are reopening. Now, this here is video right behind Peak Insurance. Now, Peak is still there, but that building, there it is now. That building that was a little strip mall is completely gone. And, of course, that's inside of my truck. Sorry. But, then and now, not a very good edit, was it? But, then and now, there's a lot of things that have changed. A lot has been cleaned up. A lot still to be cleaned up. And that's what we're looking at there. We have some video of, this right here is, that's Jail Chestnut Boulevard right after the tornado hit. A lot of cars sightseeing, but you see they're off the road for the most part. Then now it's been that same corner, that same area has been cleaned up, and there's a lot of empty space that wasn't there before, but it's no remnant of debris in the area any longer. So there's been a lot of advancement in that particular area. A lot of progress cleaning up.
And they've been filling up storefronts in other areas of Selma, which is kind of nice. We're seeing down Broad Street, some of the empty storefronts we had is where a lot of the ones that have been destroyed are choosing to relocate to.
Exactly, and that's really good for a lot of the buildings downtown that have been empty. It's going to give a new look to the city, though, with businesses in places like that. Now, this is J.L. Chestnut. Again, that's the historic Presbyterian Church about a week after the tornado, and my son and I drove down the street again just a few days ago, and this is what it looks like now. So all the debris from the building has been cleared out. Of course, that's a historic building. We hope that they can restore it. No word on what they will do, but
and that was just a few days ago in July, right? Yeah. So there are still some that are figuring out insurance and FEMA. Whether SBA can do any help. They've been on the ground a lot, the SBA and FEMA, although the offices have all been closed from being here. But we still have the ability to apply for some economic injury loans, for instance, up through October. But most of them ended in March, 3 months, 90 days later. So if they were going to rebuild, they were going to rebuild. But let's talk about housing.
Yeah, now this is Old Orville Road. This is about a week after the tornado. You can see it's gray, it's dead, it's a lot of debris laying down on the ground and all over the place, destroyed homes. Here it is about 3 days ago when Donnie and I drove down the street. The same flag still waving, but the street's a lot greener and cleaner. So a lot of debris removal. And remember, there was some issue about debris removal and how it was going to be paid for. And luckily, most of it was paid for 100% by FEMA because we did it within the 30-day period, and that went a long way to getting a lot of debris cleared and a lot of power. Now there's still some. Not every place has been completely cleaned out yet, but we
had contract issues getting the contract signed, and had the debris trucks sitting parked at Memorial Stadium forever. It felt like forever until the city could get that. The guarantee for the money, knowing where we could pay for it, because the city is broke and didn't have the money to promise the contract to pay in advance. We had to wait for that to be promised to come to us from FEMA 100%. And that took a long time to get decided. It did. And once they rolled, they were rolling. Although we do hear some stories of debris still in some areas. And some of that is because you had to divide your household and yard from each other. You could not have that stuff combined, or they wouldn't pick it up. So you did see some areas, but we are starting to see that. Well, let's continue to talk about housing for a minute.
Yeah, this is Vaughn Memorial Drive behind Dallas Avenue Pharmacy. This is about a week after the storm. And you see that house with no roof whatsoever. A lot of homes, they had already started doing some of the repair a week and 2 weeks afterwards, but still a lot of debris strewn around all over the neighborhood, a lot of piles of debris and logs. And it was a mess. Now, over the last few months, a lot of that has been tarp still on the roofs and whatnot. A lot of that has been cleaned up. That's Jeff Cochran's United Way home right there. And he was hit pretty hard by that tornado in that neighborhood. But now it's a whole different look. A lot of the homes have been repaired and people have come back to live in them again. The neighborhood is much cleaner, as you'll see here. The same drive down the same stretch, but just a couple of days ago. However, there are still places on Dallas Avenue, on this road as well, where there are still damaged homes that haven't been totally cleaned up yet. And I'm sure that there's problems that they need to deal with personally. But you can see most of the neighborhood now, 6 months later, is quite clean and looking more normal than it was right after the tornado. There's that home you saw the workers on a minute ago. And it's a lot nicer now, a lot cleaner. And
I do think that there is something to be said for the process of getting insurance, to get FEMA, everybody to pay their portion. And you are hearing from a lot of folks, and I want to share this data for a minute. You know, we have from the Long-Term Recovery Committee, which there's a story in this week's print Selma Sun newspaper, and it's also on blackbeltnewsnetwork.com, looking at the number 2285, 2,200 people in Dallas County who applied for FEMA assistance have no insurance. And 1,000 own their home, but more than that, rent their home. So you've got, situations where they're trying to get their money back from, any kind of agency that can help them. But we also are finding that a good 70%, if you looked at the numbers overall, do not own their home. They're all landlord owned.
Right.
And they can't move back in. So I do know a lot of folks are really challenged, and I talked to for this week's Selma Sun, the 6 month later edition. I talked to a couple of people that are still struggling to get back into their homes. One of them is Annie Pearl Avery, and she is a well-known foot soldier.
Yes.
She is amazing, and I actually found her in March at Jubilee. I was covering Jubilee, which is, the bridge crossing. And when I was talking to her about, her time as a foot soldier, and she was telling me about being hit by the tornado. She lived in that area that got hit. So let's listen to what Annie Pearl had to say. And this is in March.
Phone. When the storm come in, I was sitting in my safe spot in the foyer, right there where the bathroom was. And all of a sudden, the electricity went out. Glass was flying everywhere, all the windows and stuff. And it's quite a bit of damage there. And what happened is, when everything.
So that's a little snippet of what she was telling me about what it was like to go through that tornado. She's also telling me in March that, she was worried that FEMA and insurance wouldn't cover everything, and was collecting as many supplies as she could. And I called her a couple of days ago. So in July, I asked her how things were going. And she says that she didn't get a whole lot out of FEMA and insurance. And she has applied with Samaritan's Purse, a national, nonprofit that is coming back, as we hear.
Right.
And she is hoping that they will approve her application. So that they needed a lot of paperwork, but she thinks she's gotten it through to show that she is in need, sort of low income and in need of help to get them. They did put a tarp on her house right away. And she was a huge supporter of them and got them to actually put tarps on her neighbors as well. And so she is hoping that they will come back and do some work on her house when they come back.
In this week's edition of the Selma Sun and online, we also talked to the Long-Term Recovery Group. The Long-Term Recovery Group is another group that could probably help Annie. We might want to get in touch with her and give her that number, which is in the paper. If anyone has a need, they are now vetting potential cases to help rebuild homes and restore and repair homes and whatnot. So they're doing a wonderful job. They've done a great job up to this point, and they even say that they're just now getting started. So they will be doing more, as we say, boots on the ground, nails and hammers flying, real soon, building and rebuilding a lot of homes around town and all the different neighborhoods too.
Yes, and they're hoping to hear about 130 cases. So check out blackbeltnewsnetwork.com, selmasun.com to read more about what we have been reporting so far. And the 6-month anniversary is this week. We are documenting that here and then the paper and online. So check out blackbeltnewsnetwork.com for more information of what we've been working on. And we will see you next week.
See you next week. Have a great week.